Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Lucha Rewatch Season 2, Episode 11. And today we will be covering Lucha Underground Season 2, Episodes 21 and 22. And man, this was a really, really fun pair of episodes. But really, the first one, Episode 21, really wasn't a full, immersive episode of Lucha Underground. It was one match equals one night.
Exactly. So, very interesting episode of Lucha Rewatch we got coming for you guys today, because episode 21 was just 6 to Survive, and that was the entirety of the show. And then the next episode was more routine Lucha Underground, but it ended with a talking segment, which is rare for the promotion. So yeah, going to be a very interesting episode today for sure.
Well, not only that, but episode 22, even though it wasn't one match, one show, it was one concept, one show, because the entire show was dedicated to the ancient Aztec medallions being handed out.
That's true, too. Excellent point. That's also going to be something worthwhile to talk about today. So, partner, I'm ready to get into this if you are, man.
Yeah, because to me, I mean, personally, I feel like Lucha Underground is at its best when it goes through a show juggling multiple storylines. So I'm a little bit lower on these two episodes than I normally am for Lucha Underground, but that doesn't mean they weren't entertaining. They were still very entertaining. They're just not the type of Lucha Underground episodes that I'm personally the biggest fan of.
Right. But with that said, let's get right into these, man. Let's unpack this, starting with episode 21, 6 to Survive, and let's just get right into it, man. What did you think of this match?
Well, I mean, the whole match itself was very entertaining. I think it was solid, and then once we got down to the final three with Pentagon, Phoenix, and Mundo, it picked up to really, really good. And then when Mundo got eliminated, it was just Phoenix and Pentagon. It went from really, really good to great.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like this match had a really nice natural progression. I mean, it starts with the 6 competitors, and then you think King Cuerno's going to do something, but then Mil Muertes, reemerges, because we know from last Lucha Rewatch, he got emancipated from his glass casing thanks to Katrina with those new blood red eyes, and he just dominates. I mean, spear, power bomb, and then he gets Cuerno in position. And of course, I'm stating the obvious here, but I love Mundo's little quirks in this match, because he looks at Mil, he shrugs, and he goes for end of the world, because Johnny Mundo, the character, is a glory hog and really has that ego, which, by the way, I loved another little bit earlier in the match where, him and Taya, I think, are beating up Phoenix, it was, and, he goes to the cover, letting her know, no, I want the pin. So, it was just the little things he did, it's all about me, that I really enjoyed. So, yeah, Mundo gets the elimination on Cuerno fairly early in the match, and I love, too, that they can incorporate narrative elements into this match, because we know the Mil Muertes King Cuerno feud is a thing. I mean, what do you think about that?
I mean, yeah, the whole thing with Mil and Cuerno, it's really interesting, because, if it wasn't a one-match, one-show episode, they probably could have done this progression with Cuerno and Mil in, a backstage cinematic or something like that. But because they are creative and they're capable of working storylines and interweaving them into matches, they were able to pull it off here. And I think it worked out really well. And not only did it sort of begin, or I guess continue in a way, the Cuerno Muertes feud, but like you said, it gave Johnny Mundo an awesome opportunity to have that character moment where, he's this glory hog, and he's just laying there. Why not take advantage? And he does the end of the world and eliminates Cuerno.
Exactly. And then as the match progresses, I mean, we get one moment that I know you and I are never fond of. Phoenix is like, oh, no, I'm not fighting a woman, because his interactions with Ivelisse, and Ivelisse is just taking the fight to him, and it's funny because Stryker's like, oh, he's being chivalrous, and I'm like, oh, chivalry? I didn't realize we were back in, the 1500s. Hit her. And that's what I was even thinking to myself. Johnny Mundo seems to be a greater proponent of equality and treating women right than Phoenix is, because in an athletic space, you're not making that physical contact. But Johnny Mundo don't give no fucks. So yeah, how about you learn something, Phoenix? I don't know.
Johnny Mundo respects women enough to treat them as equals. Phoenix treats women as if they are lesser.
Yeah, and like, see, why I really don't like this, I mean, granted, all the reasons we've said before are valid, but even taking like that aside, right? Let's just say, hypothetically, it would come down to the two of them, like commentary noted. Well, then what's the story? Like, are you really going to give up a title shot because of these principles that aren't even really grounded in anything sound? Come on now. Like, to me, I just think it makes the character look bad. So, yeah, there was that little exchange. Any moments that kind of stick out to you, brother, before the next elimination?
Before we get to that, I just wanted to bring up the whole thing with chivalry, because I saw Cliff said something about chivalry is from Marx, and I disagree with that, but I think that we've lost the definition of what chivalry actually means, because chivalry, like the word itself, when there were like knights and horses were like this big commodity, and basically the idea of chivalry was for knights who owned horses who had that commodity should go out of their way to sort of help the needy, the lesser. The idea is, you know, chivalry doesn't mean men treat women like goddesses. No, chivalry means if you are in a place where you are fortunate, help the less fortunate. That's all chivalry actually means. It's not this sort of contrived idea of, you know, pulling a chair out for a woman to sit on or opening doors for women or anything like that. So chivalry is great. It's just this weird, like, new age definition of chivalry that's messed up. And especially because if the original word was meant to mean like the fortunate helping the less fortunate, then the current definition sort of implies that men are fortunate and women aren't. So that's just really screwed up. So yeah, chivalry in a way is generosity. Yeah, something. It's similar to generosity. So just wanted to get that out of the way, make sure that people knew that. TWitWoW, we're educational, and then we can move on. Elimination was Mundo and Taya double teaming Ivelisse to eliminate her.
Yeah, Taya eliminated Ivelisse thanks to Para Por Favor, the Northern Lights into the double stomp, which I know thanks to Jackie, who had her birthday recently and who's an amazing wealth of knowledge on women's wrestling. So yeah, Para Por Favor by Taya gets the elimination on Ivelisse.
I love it.
Which I know,
you know what that translates to, right?
Bitch, yeah. Please.
Yeah, so, exactly.
Yeah, and we know that this won't be the last time those two interact, but we'll get to that a little bit later in the episode. And yeah, I mean, I just felt like after that, you know, then we got Mundo, Taya, Phoenix, and Pentagon, and some great action here. I mean, poor Taya got the shit literally kicked out of her because they kept kicking her in the thigh and the ass, especially Pentagon. I think Phoenix launched Mundo into the ring post at one point, almost like a flapjack, but like his face met the ring post. That looked brutal. And yeah, I mean, pretty soon it broke down, and then Pentagon got the elimination on Taya with the package pile driver. And so that kind of leaves Mundo on his own. And then what did you think about these three guys mixing it up?
Yeah, this is kind of where the match stepped into a next gear for me. Not to say it was bad prior to this, but it felt disjointed prior to this, kind of getting narrowed down to the three guys. And then once we got down to this, it was like, okay, now we have kind of more of a focus. Now we can really kind of work as almost like it's just a triple threat. Like you ignore everything that happened prior, and now we just have this triple threat match. And really, it was really cool too, because I feel like Mundo dominated these guys until they decided to team up together to beat him.
Dude, you know what? I'm so glad you said something about that before I did, because I know it's just going to make me look like, well, of course, John says it. But watching this again, I'm really appreciative of how much they protected Mundo here. Because he dominated. Like, there was even one sequence where he was doing knee strikes back-to-back to these guys just to keep them down. And it took that weirdly contrived, like, pin just to eliminate him. So yeah, they really went out of their way to say, yeah, he may be like Johnny Rudo and all this stuff, but damn if he isn't one of the best that we have.
Yep.
and it just wasn't his night tonight. So I really appreciate that. Not just as a Mundo mark, but to me, it's great that you protect your villain like that, when I feel like protection like that is normally given to heroes, so to speak. So yeah, really cool.
Yeah. Mundo, I mean, the sequence that I specifically remember, there was kind of a moment where Pentagon was just like chilling on the outside of the ring. Like he literally took a seat on the temple steps and watched Mundo and Phoenix go at it. And Mundo got the upper hand, and then Pentagon kind of walked closer, like he was like standing up against the ring apron, like he was like trying to like time it so that he could get into the ring at the the perfect opportunity. And Mundo gets such an upper hand on Phoenix that he's able to walk over and kick Pentagon in the head, and it kind of knocks him away, and he's kind of down and out for a little while. And then we get like I think we get like a three-way exchange, and it ends up with Mundo doing this sick like double springboard sideways flippy dive to the outside and landing on his feet. It was amazing.
Because he's a fucking god. Yeah, I mean, and then he seats Pentagon on the chair, and he does the high knee there, which I've seen him do that before. Like, he really brought a lot of his best stuff here. And yeah, that pin, even watching it again, it like pisses me off, because I'm like, God damn it, of course it would. But yeah, Pentagon and Phoenix do their damage. And then they have their exchange, which I remember like the first time you and I watched it, we were like, okay, because I know how we feel about Phoenix. Like, in ring, he's solid. Like, that is his bread and butter. Everywhere else, we're kind of meh. And then Pentagon, I think at the time, you and I were both really high on him, because he was just, I mean, my God, you hear the crowd and everything. They just freaking adore this guy. And yeah, it was a good exchange between these two. You know, I won't complain about it. And then, of course, the finish with Pentagon having to use both the flipping pile driver off the top, you know what Adam Cole calls the Panama Sunrise, and then the package pile driver to finally get the win. I mean, that makes Phoenix look like a beast. I mean, 1,000 lives indeed. And it really does put Pentagon back in the driver's seat, because now he'll face Matanza at Ultima Lucha Dos. But I mean, what did you think about the interaction between these two guys here to kind of end the match?
I actually have in my notes that I wasn't a big fan of their initial interaction, because they had this weird submission exhibition almost, where they both would they would lock a submission in for a few seconds and then just let go. Like, aren't you supposed to be trying to win this match? Why are you letting a submission go like that? And then almost offering yourself up to your opponent for them to put you in a submission as well. I don't like that at all.
Yeah, that was weird. And you know what? I feel like maybe I could have let it go had it been established, like Lucha Underground canon, that they are their brothers. But that's never really touched on. You know, that's touched on everywhere else but here. So, yeah, it's really just kind of weird, because, I mean, that's the thing. Whatever universe I'm in, I'm operating by their laws. So, you know, it's just kind of weird for me. I completely agree with you. But then when they really took the gloves off, I do feel like it was a solid outing, with, again, Pentagon getting the win after just an insane combination of, again, flipping pile driver and the package
just like
pile
three times in a row, dropping Phoenix right on his dome.
Exactly. Like, yeah, I'm just gonna concuss you, because a concussion takes like 900 lives. That'll keep you down for a little bit. So yeah, gets the 3 count. Then Dario comes out with Matanza. And I love Pentagon here, because he's
and even before that, there was a really interesting character moment with Vampiro, where he was standing, and I think everyone was clapping for the match, and Vamp was just standing there staring at Pentagon. And Matt Stryker asked him, like, you know, what are you thinking, man? And he's just like, dude, shut up, let me think. I gotta think.
Yeah, I
seriously, Vamp was straight up. Like, he just told Stryker, listen, man, why are you gonna be asking me all these questions? Just leave me alone. I gotta think.
Exactly. And he's done that before to Stryker. Anytime Stryker gets close to the underbelly of like that relationship and just kind of pokes it with a stick, Vampiro always kind of lashes out. But I like that, though. And I'll tell you, man, if there's one thing that stood out to me on these 2 episodes, it was just Vampiro's commentary. I love just how sometimes he could just like either be so random or like not give a fuck, but then when he has to do character stuff, like he's just so good at it. Like, he's just all kinds of wonderful at every level. It's just so good. But then Dario and Matanza, they do come out. Pentagon cuts a promo. What do you think about Pentagon's promo here?
Yeah, Pentagon pretty much did his usual thing, but this time he actually went a little bit further, and he said that He's going to break each and every one of Matanza's bones. It was funny, too, because he actually called Matanza Cueto's little brother. And, like, he's technically his younger brother, but you just see Matanza, and it's like he's not a little brother to anyone. But, yeah, Pentagon called him Dario's hermanito, which is a little brother. Like, it sort of implies a small size, too, because, like, you add that little ito at the end of Spanish words, and it kind of just makes them more minuscule. But Matanza is this gigantic god, and just kind of a funny paradox there. But says he's going to break every one of Matanza's bones, and then he's also going to do it to Dario. Porque yo soy Pentagon Jr., el cero miedo.
Beautiful. Just beautiful. Great way to close. Pentagon reasserting himself. Great comeback from him. His back broken by Matanza. And that's it. No cinematic, no anything like this. So do you want to get right into episode 22?
Yeah, man, let's get into it. We start off, we kind of recap the Gift of the Gods stuff, and then the Cage Matanza stuff, and then the Matanza, El Dragoness Tuca Jr., Black Lotus stuff. And then we get into Dario's office, and we get this little introduction to a character who's literally had one match in all of Lucha Underground history, Nightclaw. And it's really unfortunate that we haven't seen him in Season 3, because I think it was like a visa issue, or he left AAA, I think, or something like that. But yeah, this is literally the best young luchador in the world right now. Nightclaw is played by a guy who goes in by Flamita in other independent promotions in AAA and stuff. And Flamita is amazing and a prodigy and 22 years old, and for this segment and then one match. And then either visa issues or a problem with AAA or something arose. And we probably won't see him again unless it's under like completely different conditions, which would be interesting.
I gotta tell you, bro, seeing this cinematic again, and I don't want to be hyperbolic, I can only speak for myself, but seeing this again and knowing we haven't seen Nightclaw since you've already like come out with it, it really is kind of the heartbreak of Season 3 for me. Because, like, what an interesting character. And what a way to build him right out of the gate. Like, Dario says, oh, I've heard so much about you. I had to have you compete in my temple. And then to gift him a medallion for Gift of the Gods. I mean, that's huge. Because it was one thing, right? And we thought that that was as far as Dario would go when he put Daga in his first match for a medallion. But Daga still had to at least earn it. Fuck that, man. I'm giving you immediate entry because you're so great. Your debut has to be in that match. That is just unbelievable to me.
I'm telling you, man, like, I've seen this dude work. I mean, we saw him briefly at Ultima Lucha Dos, but yeah, that was a glimpse into a world that is really impressive. He's really good.
I hope we see him again someday. And I really, as cliched as it sounds, I do believe in the adage in this business, never say never. So maybe they will find a way, because I'll tell you, I remember when we watched the cinematic the first time, we were floored that this guy immediately. And that voice, though, like, yeah.
The voice is clearly done in post-production, but it's still great that they gave him that crazy deep voice. And it matches the sound of the growl, too, which is even funnier.
Well, dude, like you say, they do it in post-production, and don't get me wrong, like, I agree, it's indisputable that it is, but, like, why the hell not? Lucha Underground, see, that's what I love about them, because I've seen some people...
That's the thing, is, like, this isn't meant to be Flamita. This is meant to be a new character, and Nightclaw happens to have the voice of Ving Rhames.
Yeah, like, I'm actually glad you brought this up, because I would see some people, I don't see it much anymore, but I feel like I used to see some people that used to be like, oh, well, of course, they're going to look a certain way when they have all this time to do post-production, and I'm like, yeah, and if you have those resources, use them. Like, only an idiot wouldn't use those resources, right? So don't be like, oh, you did this and that's how it is. Like, no, I love that they think to do stuff like that, because it adds interesting dimensions to people that may not be able to bring them on their own. Yeah. So, yeah, really cool, man.
Another really interesting point, and I'm just going to let everyone know straight up, if you have not watched the entirety of Lucha Underground Season 2, if you haven't seen Ultima Lucha yet, and if you haven't seen the first 19 episodes of Season 3, close out of the video right now, because there's too much to talk about in this episode that involves spoilers for the rest of the season and then the beginning of season 3 for us to just not touch on it, because I have a lot to say. And the first thing that I have to say about this Nightclaw segment is a huge spoiler for season 3. So again, if you're on a computer, close the tab. If you're on a phone, hit the home button so that you don't get spoiled. If you don't want to be spoiled for the rest of season 2 or season 3, because I'm going to spoil it starting now. Remember what Cueto told Nightclaw. The Jaguar tribe was the first tribe to be destroyed by the gods. Why? Overconfidence, arrogance. Who's the most arrogant character in this episode and in season 3?
Prince Puma.
The only other Jaguar tribe member, yes.
Yeah.
I did not, it didn't click for me when Cueto said that. I didn't it didn't click, oh my God, this sort of over arrogance could apply to Puma too. It was two separate thoughts. Oh, the Jaguar tribe's over arrogant. Oh, Puma's in the Jaguar tribe. But they never connected in my brain until right now.
Yeah, man, that's crazy.
Puma, first of all, on this episode, he straight up says, I could be better than the best. That's immediately very, very confident, borderline arrogant. And then in season 3, his arrogance blinds him to a lot of bad things that end up happening to it.
Exactly. Yeah. Very interesting.
So in a very direct way, Prince Puma, as a member of the Jaguar tribe, Prince Puma's arrogance led to his destruction, just as the tribe that he originates from.
Goddamn. Yeah, that's really something, dude. I did not give that even a modicum of thought. Great catch. Great catch. So, anything else you want to say about this cinematic?
Not about this cinematic, but I have more to say later. Anyway, let's get on to our next segment. Our first match of episode 22 was Daga versus Mascarita Sagrada. I love the way Famous B does his intro.
Yeah, I'm glad that we all enjoyed it, because pretty much Daga makes quick work of Masquerita. Masquerita does get offense in, so he doesn't get completely bitched out. But Daga does win this match. He gets a submission on Masquerita. Masquerita taps. So Daga, he gets his medallion, much to Cobra Moon's delight, who was watching. And Famous B is like, oh, get up. It'll be all right. It'll be all right. You're still the champion. And then one of the most hilarious moments of season 2 ensues. Famous B super kicks Masquerita, and Brenda's like, no, what are you doing? And it's just like,
why did you do that?
Why did you do that to him?
Brenda, she's amazing. Honestly, watching this just makes me want to go back and rewatch that episode of AfterBuzz that she and Carly were on.
Yeah, so good. But Famous B's like, oh, you want to disrespect me? You want to disrespect me? And he's untying his shoe. He takes his shoe off and he beats Masquerita with it. And
oh my God. Who throws a freaking shoe? He didn't throw the shoe. He did throw it after he was done using it as a weapon, but he beat Masquerita down with his shoe. Who does that?
And then when he threw it, he's like, get my shoe! Get my shoe!
I know, he was so angry about it. God damn it, I didn't mean to throw that. Throw shoe.
I actually tweeted when we were rewatching it. I said I tagged him in it, and I did hashtag he deserved it, hashtag get my shoe. And Famous B responded with 2 emojis, one a hand with a finger pointing, and then the other one being a shoe. So literally he emojied get my shoe. So then he gets a mic and he says, oh, I promise you, I'm gonna find me a real client and I'm gonna make him famous. And then he just tosses the mic. Masquerita is trash. I totally support him getting betrayed. Maybe he should suck less next time. Very proud of Famous B for keeping the business strong. Brother, what did you think about this betrayal?
Oh, so good. Dude, It's funny, too, because Matt Stryker a couple episodes ago made a great point. Mascarita has lost every single match that he's had since becoming Famous B's client. And he won at least like a match or two prior to that. So he literally had a worse record under the tutelage of Famous B than he had prior. So obviously Mascarita isn't necessarily the problem. Famous B is the problem. But Mascarita's the one taking these L's, and Famous B thinks that he's the problem. So what's his answer? Kick him and then beat him with a shoe.
Exactly. Because shoe beating solves all problems. So yeah, that's pretty much that segment. I still laugh my ass off about it. Not as much as other segments that we'd get in LU history, but I mean, this one is definitely up there. This was fucking hilarious. Again, Masquerita deserved every bit of it. Way to be a failure, Masquerita. But with that said, I've got nothing else to say about this. We can move on.
What's Famous B's favorite dessert?
What?
A shoe fly pie.
Oh my god.
I had to. I'm so sorry. That was horrible. I know, but I had to. Anyway, we should definitely move on and bury the shit out of that joke. Next, we're in Dario's office, and he informs El Dragon Azteca Jr. that Black Lotus killed his mentor.
Yep, still stoking those flames, man. Still making them work to his advantage. Like, oh, I see the anger in your eyes. You think that my brother killed your mentor, but that's not true. He's a monster, but he's not a killer. And then, yeah.
Which is a lie, because he already killed Bale.
Ate that face, but yeah.
And all of those dude bros in Phoenix, he killed them too.
They deserved it though. That was pretty hilarious. So yeah, what
they paid to get murdered.
Well, maybe they shouldn't be so stupid. You know what I call that? Darwinism at work.
Oh my god.
You know what Dario does do? He's like, oh, but you know who's really the problem here? Black Lotus. So I'm going to give you, because I'm such a generous guy, a chance to get your revenge and finish it once and for all. So yeah, Dario's still hyping up that Ultima Lucha Dos matchup. And yeah, the Black Lotus, El Dragon Azteca Jr., the hate is on. But yeah, solid cinematic. Not much to say about it. Brother, if you have anything to add, we can move on.
Yeah, let's move on. Up next, we had our second match of the night, and honestly, I'm going to say this is my favorite match of the night. Joey Ryan, Mr. Cisco, and Cortez Castro versus Killshot, Siniestro de Muerte, and Marty the Moth Martinez.
Yeah, we actually start this match with an interesting promo from Marty saying, you know, look, it's the gift of the gods. We got Aztec medallions at stake. So tonight, we've got to be brothers in arms. So I want to give you back your dog tags. And, you know, he takes them off around his neck, places them on the mat, slides them over to Killshot. So, you know, very smart by Marty. And in hindsight, because, I mean, we will go through this whole match, you know, very calculating by Marty. It shows that he does have, you know, intellect up there, which I think to me just further enhances the character. I love it. And so then they're on the same
Dude, I don't even know if I would call it intellect so much as I would just call it sociopathy. Like, he's a sociopath. It's not a matter of being smart so much as it's a matter of just being willing to do anything to meet your ends.
Yeah, I can respect that, though. No wonder me and Marty see eye to eye so much. But
oh my god, of course.
Yeah, everyone's worthless. But it gives the dog tags back to Killshot. We have our 6-man match. And, brother, what did you think about this? I mean, you did just say that this was your match of the night. So, what were some of the highlights for you?
Because, dude, Mr. Cisco is amazing at Lucha Libre.
He is. He's also amazing at a lot of other things, but we'll get to that in due time.
Red Bull gives you wings. But, yeah, dude, I loved that Mr. Cisco got the opportunity to show such great Lucha action in this match. He was so much fun.
Yeah, dude, he really does well in that Technico role. And it was great to see him, you know, in those little bursts, because then the crowd connected with him.
And since we already unlocked the door to spoilers, I love that in this match we got Mr. Cisco and El Siniestro de Muerte working with each other, because in season 3, those guys are Mala Suerte and Saltador, members of the Rabbit Tribe.
That's right. That's right.
And we got our first hint of them together in this match going against each other. It was cool.
And I gotta say, like, I think two of my favorite moments in this match, you know, they're quite distinct. The one sequence where Marty and Killshot are working together, because I thought, like, wow, that chemistry actually is impressive.
Yeah.
And two, just everything Joey Ryan. Whether it was Joey Ryan with the lollipop with Marty, which was disgusting, but I couldn't look away, or Joey Ryan getting involved in certain things, and you could hear him say, "This is my moment. This is my moment. No, this is my moment. I'm not going to let you take this from me." Like, James, I gotta tell you, bruh, your father is petty as hell, man. Cause like, it's a team fucking effort. I don't know where Joey's like, "Oh no, this is all about me," but that's why I love him and his chest hair so much. Like, I'm telling you, man, I just fucking love douchebags. I've been saying it since day one. And you look at, you know, Marty and Joey and so many other people, and it's like, they know what my heart needs. It's just, it's beautiful. It really is.
I love that Joey Ryan is like your favorite. Well, not literally your favorite, but like you really, really like this guy. And then James has like called him God in chat because apparently he's James's father. And then we've got like the residential Joey Ryan hater Cliff and Wall in chat being the first one to be like, "No, James, no."
Yeah, yeah, because that's right. Cliff said that Joey Ryan is like his Charlotte. Something
Yeah,
that, to
he
be honest,
really hates Joey Ryan, and I'll never understand why. Because, like, even though I don't think Joey Ryan is like this exceptional, amazing talent, I don't think there's really any reason to dislike the guy, and unless you see him as like a sleazeball, in which case, like, yeah, he's a heel. He's trying to come off as a sleazeball. I don't understand, like, from a performer standpoint, though, why you would dislike the guy.
dude. Honestly, like, and I think everybody knows this because I mean, you just pretty much said it. So I'm kind of reiterating you here. He's not a stellar in-ring talent, but I mean,
He's a good in-ring talent, though. Like,
he's a good
he
in-ring
really
talent.
doesn't really ever need to put on like the 5-star, you know, flippy shit match anymore, just because he has so much character work he can do that he gets over without it.
And that's what I was going to say, Ashton, because we got to remember that wrestling is a multifaceted thing. I mean, we were even kind of having a similar discussion when we were talking about Cody working the indies and how he's just bad at it because, to me, I feel like he's more of a character performer than an in-ring worker. And Joey Ryan would get the same classification. The only difference being, like, to me, Joey is one of my favorite comedy wrestlers right now. And even if someone would be like, what he does isn't comedy, first of all, I guess that's kind of debatable. But for me, you know, I have like
comedy is subjective. Anything can be comedy if someone laughs at it.
Exactly. And like, yeah, just like his mannerisms, like, "Oh, this is my moment," and like how he hugs the spotlight in matches and the lollipop bit and his cinematics. Because I know we already talked about the one scene where he's like, "I'm starting to look as bad as you," and then what? That money doesn't prove anything. Yeah, it proves we're getting our much deserved bonuses. Like, I love him. I can't help it, man. I love him so much. It's so good. And unfortunately, though, his teammates don't love him nearly as much as I do because there's a communication breakdown. And while
no, dude, they all hate they hate him and he hates both of them. It's clear that it's like the only people in that team that like each other are Cisco and Castro. And even then, I don't think Cisco likes Castro that much. I think Castro just still wants to be friends with Cisco.
exactly, but unfortunately, didn't do any favors for that friendship because while Castro and Joey Ryan are arguing amongst themselves, we've got here Marty does the curb.
They were arguing?
Yeah, that wasn't that what was happening? They were arguing, then Cisco got curb stomped.
Well, no, but Marty. Do you remember why they were arguing in the first place?
Probably because Joey Ryan asserted himself. I think again it was like, "No, this is my moment," and like trying to just be like, "No, why won't you let me do things?"
There was this great moment. Siniestro was coming off the ropes, getting ready to do something to Cisco, and Castro pulled Cisco out of the way, and then they shot Siniestro into the ropes, and they were getting ready to do that Shatter Machine finisher that they have, and Joey Ryan just super kicks Siniestro in the face before he can get to him, and then Cisco and Castro are just like, "Dude, what are you doing? We were going to beat him," and that was when he did the whole, "That was my moment."
He's perfect.
And then he straight up just shoves Cisco into the ground. And then as he and Castro are continuing to argue, Marty curb stomps Cisco, which sets Cisco up to be double stomped. I think they call it the killer's instinct from Killshot. So, yeah, Joey Ryan cost his team the match.
Now, that's debatable. Maybe
No, it isn't.
King
He is the reason that Cisco got curb stomped, and the curb stomp led to the double stomp, which was the end of the match.
I love how you don't even let me get out of the gate with this one. You're like, no, it isn't.
You are not justifying this, John.
Enough of your shit, John. But, yeah, dude, I gotta say, on a more serious note, because I didn't fully appreciate it the first time, like, we watched this, like, way back when we were doing live reactions, because I didn't get how it was done at first, but when Marty does the curb stomp and then Killshot's prepping for the Killer Instinct, you see while Killshot's got the pin initiated, Marty's in the corner unfastening the dog tag so we can take him back.
Yep.
That is such a great fucking touch. Because, like, I was even thinking, wait, how did he get those back and Killshot not know it? But now it makes perfect sense. So, really cool. This team gets the win. Marty, Killshot, and Sinestro are going to Gift of the Gods. Marty is taking the dog tags back. Killshot's irate. And Joey Ryan's moment got ruined thanks to complete and utter incompetence by Castro and complete weakness and frailty from Cisco. So, what a team he got saddled with, huh? Just fantastic.
Yeah. I mean, Killshot and Marty are clearly not done yet, and we'll see the culmination of their feud in season 3. But yeah, this was just more of Marty being that Joker character. He really is a sociopath.
Yeah.
Oh man. So then we got our third match of the night, which was, dude, I don't even remember what they called it, but it was the Spanish something or other, but I don't even know. But it was a 2-on-2 match, but the teams were like opposite. Like you would expect, oh, Sexy Star and Ivelisse versus Mariposa and Taya. But no, they said, Sexy Star, you're going to team up with the woman you hate most and the woman that you made say no mas, Mariposa. And Taya, you're going to team up with the woman that you've been really at her throat for the last month and a half, Ivelisse. Have fun.
Yeah, this is pretty much a strange Bedfellows tag team match, more or less. And, not a bad affair. To be honest, not really too much, stood out to me for this match except for the finish. Mariposa getting, I believe, what looked like an air raid crash to Ivelisse. And then,
yeah, that's what it was. That was the finish.
Yeah, and then just throws Sexy Star on Ivelisse. Unfortunately, Taya couldn't break up the pin. And once again, though, notice, how Worldwide Underground, we always do all the work, and yet the weaklings can't, handle the load. So, way to go, Ivelisse. Way to go. I still blame her for this. I remember blaming her for this initially when we first watched it. And yeah, those feelings have not changed. Taya was royally screwed here, and she definitely deserved better. So, way to be a weakling there, Evie. Way to go.
Taya did spear Ivelisse for what it's worth. That kind of led to the finish.
Well, you say that, but have you ever once really bothered to ask yourself if Ivelisse had it coming? I mean, just a thought.
Well, I'm not even questioning whether she had it coming or not. I'm just saying Taya speared Ivelisse, and then Ivelisse was weakened from the spear, which allowed Mariposa to hit the air raid crash on her to finish the match. So 2 matches in a row now that people that you defend the match.
First of all, you say a spear, I say a hug coming at you very aggressively. I feel like Taya was just trying to get on the same page as Ivelisse.
So are you saying Taya has a weak spear? Because that's an insult. That's what people used to say about Edge's spear when he hit it because it looked so weak. So are you saying Taya's spear is weak?
Well, first of all, Edge's spear is weak as hell. Second of all, no, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that perception is everything, okay? And
you can't say that the spear was a hug because that means the spear was weak. So either Taya's got a really weak spear that looks like a hug, or Taya's spear is really good and it caused the loss of the match for the team.
Look, or third option, okay? Maybe it was a really good spear because Taya is the perfect woman, so she never does anything subpar. And Ivelisse, in her own inadequacy and mediocrity, just couldn't handle it. I mean, we've seen how. But
how mediocre does someone have to be in order to not get beat by that spear? Because obviously, if Taya's throwing the spear, it's devastating.
I mean, yeah, but Ivelisse talks this big game about, oh, I'm the baddest bitch in the building, and you couldn't even stay alive for your team. Plus, wasn't even the pin after the spear. Let's remember, Mariposa did an air raid crash. So you're telling me you couldn't even try and fight out of the hold? You know, like, she totally.
How could she fight out of the hold when she was still reeling from that devastating spear from Taya?
When you want something bad enough, you find a way. It's clear that Ivelisse did not care about this match at all. Her apathy towards it allowed Taya to have to do all the work, thus leading to the loss.
Oh my god.
So, yeah, Sexy Star and Mariposa, they advance. Fun match. I mean, are there any highlights that maybe I glossed over that you'd want to look at, or you've
well, yeah, there was like a weird moment on the outside when Mariposa got like strangely overly aggressive to Sexy Star, and she was like throwing her away from Taya so that she could beat her up, and then like again and sat Taya down on one of the wooden chairs and did a crossbody on her. So like she was doing good stuff because she was beating up Taya, but like barely throwing Sexy Star around like a rag doll. That was just really weird to me, especially because like prior to that, it seemed like Mariposa was willing to coexist with Sexy Star in this match. Like she, like at one point before the match even started, she did like a bow almost to Sexy as if to say like, yeah, you got me, I'm chill, we can do this, we're going to team up and we're going to win. And then like she was making like, she wasn't like forcing tags or tagging herself in. She was doing like the hand-to-hand tag that you would expect from a cooperative tag team. And the next thing you know, they're on the outside and she just throws Sexy Star for no reason whatsoever. Like, it was just weird. It made no sense to me whatsoever. I thought that like early on in this match, it felt like, okay, well, Sexy Star beat the humility into Mariposa, and Mariposa's not going to cross Sexy Star, and then she does that. Like, I don't know. It's just weird.
Yeah, I can see what you're saying, man. Unfortunately, though, despite the quirks in that team, they do get the job done. They claim the last 2 medallions. And that's not the end of our show, though, because we end with our talking segment, Prince Puma addressing the believers. And, honestly, actually, not really much to say here because it is a talking segment. I mean, Puma pretty much says, talks about him training with Conan and, how Conan would get him through it by telling him that he was one of the best and he had in him to be the next Rey Mysterio. And he's tagged with Rey and they were champions. But he needs to know, is he the next Rey Mysterio or is he better? And he says, I know there's only one match you guys really won for me, and there's only one match I won for myself. So, Rey, will you fight me at Ultima Lucha Dos? What do you think about Puma's promo here?
I'll tell you, man, it was really cool to see the crowd react to him speaking in front of them for the first time, because you've got to remember, he had spoken on the television show prior to this, but that the speaking segments that he had were all backstage, and all of them aired long after the tapings had already concluded. So this is the first time that this crowd, that the believers, must speak. So this is a huge deal. And the one problem I had, it felt like he was very much rushing, being fast, trying to get it done over with, like almost like he's uncomfortable speaking in front of a crowd.
Right.
So as much as I love the Prince Puma character, he definitely rushed through this promo. I mean, eat your heart out. He wasn't dragging, he was rushing, and it was pretty obvious.
Yeah. And to me, dude, like I look at the whole thing.
Oh, and the other thing that really bothered me was the way that he pronounced Rey Mysterio, because he wanted to sound vaguely Spanish, but he didn't actually know how to sound Spanish. Because rather, like, the proper way to pronounce Rey Mysterio's name in Spanish is Misterio. It's the Y makes an E sound, and the E makes an eh sound. And he just pronounced it in English, but he trilled his R. So rather than Misterio, which would have been proper, he said Mysterio, which just sounded like a weird, goofy, ridiculous Spanglish.
Well, Rey responds to it nonetheless. And he says, I'm one of the people that paved the way for competitors like you. And I have mad respect for you. But you have to remember something. You're still a prince, but I'm El Rey. And you want to know if you're as good as me, if you're the best, I want to know if I've still got it in me, to compete, at that level and to be the man. So you're on, and we get a handshake, a stare down, and we know that our match for Ultima Lucha Dos, Prince Puma versus Rey Mysterio. Great stuff. And I think actually, you know what? We do get one before this series closes out. I think it may even be in the next set of episodes we're going to cover, 23 and 24. We get one really good match out of the build-up for this that I'm excited to rewatch again.
Well, yeah, it's actually on the net. Well, because you got to remember, Ultima Lucha Dos was on episodes 24, 25, and 26. So there's only one episode left that isn't Ultima Lucha Dos between now and then, and that's episode 23. So that's the episode that we get Puma versus Azteca Jr.
Yeah, that match, I remember it being insanely good. I'm excited to rewatch that because I feel like enough time's elapsed that I can look at it with fresh appreciation. So yeah, that was our final segment, and that rounds out these two episodes, guys. Again, definitely a quicker episode this week because just weird episode structures we were dealing with.
You know what, though? I think that worked out really well, and I think that the fact that we're covering episodes 23 and 24 next week works out really well also, because, again, next week we've got Azteca Jr. versus Puma on episode 23, which is, that's a great, sort of main event for that show. But then we've also got the first part of Ultima Lucha Dos. But the thing is, Ultima Lucha Dos was very disjointed. It didn't really feel like one long comprehensive show. Part one felt like a completely separate show because it was one tournament, one show. They started and finished a 4-man tournament on Ultima Lucha Dos Part 1. So then parts 2 and 3 feel more like they belong together.
Right.
So it actually works out really well that we're kind of breaking Ultima Lucha Dos into parts, but at the same time, we're breaking it into the part that feels like it doesn't belong with the other two, and then the two that feel like they belong together.
Exactly. So, going to be some great coverage coming your way, guys, as we round this series out, because we are now officially 2 weeks away from the return of Lucha Underground Season 3, which means live reactions will be recommencing soon enough. I cannot freaking wait. But, partner, with that said, I'm going to have you take us home.
Dude, next week we will be we'll be recovering from the lack of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. because this week was the final episode of the season, and we won't get more, I don't know, till like November, December, maybe even January, which is going to be horrible and terrible and painful to get through. But luckily, Lucha Underground returns in 2 weeks, guys. It's going to be wonderful. Next week, we're covering episodes 23 and 24. Episode 23, The Phoenix, the Dragon, and the Spaceman. Episode 24, Ultima Lucha Dos Part 1. And then on May 31st, we have a Lucha Underground quadruple header because at 3 p.m., we're going to be covering episodes 25 and 26 of Season 2 in our final episode of Lucha Rewatch Season 2. And then at 6 p.m., we're going to be doing a Lucha Underground Season 3 trailer rewatch, where we will be watching the Lucha Underground Season 3 trailer, discussing everything that's already happened in Lucha Underground Season 3 that happened in the trailer, and then, of course, looking to everything that we haven't seen yet that was in the trailer. And then, of course, 8 p.m., Lucha Underground Season 3 returns with the return of All Night Long. It's Johnny Mundo. It's the Mac. It's the Lucha Underground Championship on the line. Be there. And then, of course, after the show, we will be doing a review of the match. It's going to be great. And then, of course, that night we will be doing NXT as well. Just like we'll be doing NXT tonight as well. And every Wednesday. But actually, no, we won't be doing NXT the night that Lucha returns, because today is NXT TakeOver Chicago, which means that we will not be covering episodes of NXT that happen on Wednesday, May 24th, Wednesday, May 31st, which is the first episode of Lucha, Wednesday, June 7th, or Wednesday, June 14th. So those 4 episodes of NXT, you're not going to get TWitWoW reviews for, because NXT always just kind of coasts for the first month after a TakeOver special. But speaking of TakeOver, NXT TakeOver Chicago preview and predictions are tomorrow night at 8 p.m., and then we'll be live reacting to that show Saturday when it comes on. But that's not all, because we've got another pay-per-view this weekend. WWE SmackDown presents Backlash, which we'll be previewing and predicting on Friday, and then live reacting to on Sunday. So you guys have got a stacked rest of the week. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're hoping that Backlash is a lot better than it looks on paper. We're hoping that NXT TakeOver Chicago lives up to how good it looks on paper. And, of course, we will see you all tonight for our NXT review. Stay tuned.